We're back, we're racing, and we are talking the Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be an interesting one. Going into the race, we all thought it was Mercedes and potentially Red Bull suiting kind of the circuit, but qualifying showed that to be not the case. It was Ferrari who was over a second in that first run in Q3, which really shocked the rest of the field. Vettel got a good banker lap in, but Leclerc managed to pip him and get the front row of the grid alongside Lewis Hamilton for the start of the race. So it's looking like a tasty event. Mercedes did have good pace. They tend to be kinder on their tyres. This track is notorious for chewing through tyres, so it's going to be interesting in terms of strategy. But at the start of the Grand Prix, we had qualifying Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, and Bottas down in P5, and then Albon. So it was a pretty clean start for most of the grid. Going down into turn one, we had Leclerc, who got a flyer off the start. Sebastian Vettel putting pressure on Hamilton. And everyone pretty much following suit. There was some contact into turn one. We'll get on that in a little while. But it was Charles Leclerc who managed to start edging away from the rest of the field. And it was Vettel who managed to get a run at Lewis Hamilton, who went defensive, got on the inside and managed to hold off Vettel in terms of getting his pace back and getting his head down. So in the opening stages of the Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton seemed pretty comfortable. This is courtesy of Carl, who's trackside. And it was Charles Leclerc controlling the pace throughout the initial stages of the Grand Prix. But then it was all about the strategy. He was controlling the gap. Who was going to pit first? The undercut is very powerful. We know that the likes of Monaco and these tight circuits, which overtaking is difficult. You need about 2 second lap delta. And throughout the Grand Prix, we had notoriously here safety cars, which have been at every Grand Prix in its existence. And there was plenty of them today as well. So Sebastian Vettel, he got the undercut. Leclerc didn't opt to pit early. So Sebastian Vettel, the team allowed him to do that. In doing so, allowed him to leapfrog his teammate, who got there on merit, got pole position, got a clean start from the race, but still got mugged by Sebastian Vettel, who got his first win of the season, or official one, of course, Canada. There was a P2 for his teammates, so a 1-2 for Ferrari, the first ever team to get a 1-2 at the Singapore Grand Prix. So that's no mean feat within itself. So it was Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas. Disappointing for Mercedes not to be on the podium there. Albon had a pretty solid race, but didn't really trouble too much the Mercedes. It was more of the case of the McLarens nibbling at his heels. Norris having a good go there in P7. A clean race for him. Gasly, a remarkable drive, P8. Hulkenberg managed to fight his way back in P9. And Giovinazzi with another solid point there. Good form for the Italian. Grosjean just outside the points. Disappointing. Really, towards the end of the Grand Prix, what happened there. Carlos Sainz, very unlucky at the start of the race. And, showed good pace throughout the weekends. Disappointing with that. Stroll, come a cropper, hit the wall. Ricciardo down there in P14, showing good potential, but just didn't come to fruition. Had some contact throughout the Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat as well. Kubica in 16th. Magnussen 17th. And here we can see some of the strategies throughout the Grand Prix. And we can see that undercut really worked for Vettel. Managed to get that solid lap in. And the rest is history, pretty much. He had track position. That was key for today. And that's what won him the Grand Prix. So coming into this weekend, Ferrari, they put a lot of new upgrades on this car. And it was this man, Sebastian Vettel, who he looked a bit in Leclerc's shadow throughout the weekend. But when it comes to business, this guy really delivered. So the upgrades are paying off for Ferrari, and their car seems a bit more rounded now. This is a bit of a particular track. It's a night race. The humidity here, the heat, etc. So we won't look at it too much, but that power of that Ferrari, though, that can't be denied. And P1, P2, they're really showing their potent potential now, Ferrari. So we've got to watch out for them for the rest of the season. Can they stage a comeback? Can one of these challenge for the title if Mercedes have a couple of DNFs? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on that. But really happy to see this man smiling again. A happy Seb is a fast Seb, and it's better for racing. We already see him going wheel to wheel today with Lewis Hamilton, and that's something that we haven't seen over the years. So I hope we get to see a lot more of that But it was Leclerc who was left absolutely fuming. He is the driver in the lead of this Grand Prix. At the likes of Mercedes, whoever's first on track gets the call, and they will communicate that. So I don't know why they didn't say, well, Seb's going to box if you don't. Give him that message. Make it very clear to him. But I don't think that was the case. So maybe they'll look at that for the future races to come. But Charles Leclerc, hold your head up high. You drove a great race. And for Ferrari, this is an exceptional result, like I say once again. So really happy for the team. Solid bag of points, really cutting into Mercedes this weekend. And is he back to his best, Sebastian Vettel? What do you expect for the upcoming races in Sochi? Is he going to have a good one? It was an aggressive drive from Sebastian. And yeah, he looked to have a bit more confidence within himself and within the car. So that could be with the upgrades a bit more suiting to his liking, giving him the downforce, the characteristics which really suit his driving style. So let me know your thoughts. Is Ferrari back in business?
Restart. We do shock 7 again. That will help.
Some team radio here.
I want everything. Even engine mode.
Charles, we need to bring the car home, Charles. We need to manage the PU and bring the car home.
Yeah. I won't do anything stupid. It's not my goal. I want us to finish 1-2. I just think it's not fair. But yeah, this won't change. I won't be stupid.
You can fight, but you keep it clean.
To be completely honest with you, I don't understand at all the undercut. But yeah, whatsoever, we'll discuss after the race. But
well, the only way.
So, is it the return of Sebastian Vettel? Are we going to see him mount a challenge? It's very unlikely, I must say. But moving on to Red Bull Racing, high expectations coming into this. This would be one on the calendar, earmarked throughout the season. Were they going to challenge for the win? Max was very shocked in terms of the quality pace, as were Mercedes. And just wasn't ready to be. They wasn't in the right place at the right time. They did manage to get in front of Lewis Hamilton and maintain track position on him, which was quite impressive considering the safety cars and the life of the tyres. But Alex Albon, P6, gaining pace. Christian here saying he's very happy with his development, asking the right questions, seeming very intelligent. Helmut Marko has also come out and said that Danny Kvyat is confirmed next year for Toro Rosso. So this means that it's between Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly for that second Red Bull seat. And he was amazed by how many of the flags were out there from the crowd. So it was great to be racing here and a great performance. I mean, it's not the best in the world. He's still away off Max. He's still got to learn and look at so much to tell it. Can't get the word right. So much data from Max Verstappen and really understand where he draws them extra attempts and half attempts out of the car. But a great performance for Max Verstappen to get on the podium and really, cement a good start to the season, get back on track after a few poor results. So it's true that we came here hoping for more, but it's still a good result. And yeah, got to taste the champagne up on the podium. A pretty sweet end after a really long and grueling race for him as well. He had some pressure from behind. He was maintaining some pressure himself and really in a class of his own in that car. It doesn't seem like anyone can touch him in terms of teammates right now. But give Alex Albon time, and I'm sure he could really, develop himself within this team. He's showed great potential over the coming races. So overall, we got there 3 out of 4 cars in the points, including Albon, who delivered a solid performance on his first visit to this track. We now must continue to push hard to get on terms with those ahead of us. The Honda power unit has been really impressive this year. Credit where credit's due. And I think they're on the 4th element now this season, the 4th iteration of their power unit. So really strides taken for Honda. And watch out for Red Bull in the coming years because Newey is going to be really knuckling down on this car now. And do we expect to see some upgrades? I think this is where they're going to start to tail off for the rest of the year. Mercedes on the back foot, not looking as strong and as dominant as they would be expecting. This has been a bit of a bogey track in the past for them, but we expected them still to be strong considering their downforce and the amount of just corners at this circuit where their car seems to be stronger. So Lewis Hamilton, he managed to get on the front row of the grid for this race. Valtteri Bottas had a bit of a poor performance within qualifying, but it was strategy errors and just bad decisions throughout the Grand Prix, which cost them throughout this race. Lewis Hamilton was driving pretty well, but there's going to be some major questions. Look at this here. There's a bit of a tense situation, trying to understand them strategy calls. They could see Ferrari. We're going to come into some traffic within the midfield pack, and that could potentially slow him down. James, what James was trying to tell Lewis. But the track position is key at a street circuit like the likes of Monaco, and you need to pit first if you're going to get that and try and get yourself out in a little gap, make up some seconds, and hopefully leapfrog your teammates. So this team gamble has impacted Valtteri Bottas because they've said, look, you're not allowed to pit because our lead car, which Ferrari could have done, is out there. And so even when he did pit as well, he had to manage his pace to Lewis Hamilton. He's lapping about a 145, but Lewis was lapping about a 148 at that point. So they tried to slow him down so he didn't jump him. But moving on to McLaren, best of the rest so far this year, and this continued in this Grand Prix. Good performance from the car, looked pretty settled, good over the bumps around here. And McLaren showing an impressive start, great harmony within the team, and a solid showing for both the guys. I know that Sainz didn't finish in the points. Lando Norris was a solid P7 there, clean race for him once, for once, and much needed points on the board for him. Carlos Sainz, a frustrating race, come back from a bad start and was unlucky with some of the safety cars, like many of the drivers throughout this Grand Prix. But good solid showing from McLaren, and long may it continue. Lando Norris, very impressive so far in the opening stages of this season. For a rookie driver, remember, he's not been to a certain Grand Prix such as this. Credit where credit's due. Good on you, Lando, and we hope to see you for many years to come. Especially impressive, mounting some pressure on Albon throughout the Grand Prix, considering the pace difference between them cars. Really, really good performance. I expect more to come from it. When do they switch the focus to next year? Moving on to Renault, Daniel Ricciardo, before the race even began late last night, there was a variation on the MGU-UH or MGU-UK power output when he bounced off a curb, I think it was, and that put him to the back of the grid. I think Cyril says there's obviously a sense of what could have been today after showing decent pace all weekend in qualifying and during the race. 2 points for Nico seems a poor reward for both him and the team, even if he was last after the first lap contact with Carlos. The race was marred by incidents which we didn't benefit from. Daniel's comeback after his disqualification was remarkable on a track like this. Contact sent him back to square one. Once again, this shows how important the starting position is. It was encouraging, however, to be at the back at this competitive level on a track which is very different from Spa and Monza, a sign that the car is better, and we must not write off this season. So, strides have been taken by Renault. They just need to deliver consistently now. So it was a long one today, and it's a shame it ended up like that. The start was fun with some good overtakes and getting into a decent position. I gained some confidence there and got into a rhythm. We were really ticking every box and really made the most of everyone being bunched up. Then it all came undone with the incident and the puncher, which when the race was more or less over. We deserved a better outcome today, is what Daniel Ricciardo reckons from this weekend. And it's a shame to see Daniel Ricciardo not finishing so often. He had the same at Red Bull with the Renault power unit. Good to see him managing to battle though and have a competitive car, which he's confident and he can dive bomb people with, because he does lick the stamp and send it, as he says. So an exciting racer to watch, and a good showing from both of the Renault drivers. Nico Hülkenberg managed to get some points, as we heard, and it was a good showing for him considering the damage that was inflicted on his car early on in the Grand Prix. He doesn't have a drive for next year. Could we see him at Alpha? Could we see him at Williams? Where do you think he will end up? I think he's been approached by Zach Brown even for the Indy seat next year. Moving on to Toro Rosso. This track, they really didn't expect too much out of it coming into this weekend. It's not been one fundamentally to suit them, but nevertheless, they showed some good signs throughout the Grand Prix. If you put yourself in the right place at the right time with these safety cars, you can capitalize in it. And Pierre Gasly had a really exciting end to the Grand Prix, managed to get himself up to P8. Remember, he is fighting for his career at Red Bull in the bigger paid seat, in the bigger and badder Bull. And what do we expect? Do we expect to see him there next year? Let me know your thoughts. Danny Kvyat, very poor day at the office, P15, real scruffy day, contact with Kimi Räikkönen, and just a weekend to forget. It was just one of them, and certain drivers suit certain tracks, and it just didn't really seem to suit Danny Kvyat this weekend. And a bit of bad luck here or there as well, you could say. And but Pierre Gasly showing some confidence, back in his comfort zone, back in the zone itself generally, and looking really punchy. Just suited to the car, I suppose. It's like anything; certain cars will suit you on the road. Moving on to Alfa Romeo, one good, one bad today. Giovinazzi's continuing his strong form. He's been showing good pace since the likes of Spa, where he didn't finish, had a good finish at his home Grand Prix, and again got his himself a point on the board this weekend. So a tough day for Kimi. We can see the DNF here down at turn one. Yeah, I blame Kvyat for that fault. To be honest, there should have been racing room, and it was late. It was very hard contact. But P10 for Giovinazzi. So yeah, a great result for him, getting a point on a difficult weekend for an inexperienced driver in this heat and for that duration. Racing points a weekend to forget. Perez with a DNF, Lance Stroll with P13. Lance Stroll was running pretty strong actually, up in the points, and managed to clip the wall all by himself, and that caused a puncture, and I think he had to box, and yeah, race pretty much over from that point. But showing the car has got potential in it. The car has definitely taken strides forward in the second half of this year, and they're looking back to where they was in the Force India days. So good showing from Racing Point in terms of pace and potential, but delivery, you have to give them a big fat F this weekend. So hopefully they'll show some more pace in the likes of Sochi in the upcoming Grand Prix. But yeah, we got to see them race alongside the likes of Haas, Williams this weekend, and the Toro Rosso lads. So Perez looked very frustrated. He had some sort of oil leak within the car. That's obviously a lot more detailed than just that, but that's what I've just heard from the driver comments. So yeah, I want to reflect on this weekend and a real disappointment for them. Moving on to Haas, talking of disappointments, it has to be the most terrible start to a season for this team. Really questioning their continuation in the sport, you'd have to say, because it's just been negative after negative throughout the weekend. We can see George Russell approaching Grosjean here. I really didn't want to see him re-sign for Haas. I hope they would have gone for maybe a younger driver, giving someone else a chance, even put Fittipaldi in there. But Magnussen going pretty solid throughout the Grand Prix. Grosjean was running pretty well as well, you have to say. But again, when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, putting himself in close proximity to other drivers, this is one person you want to give, a real long distance to. You want to stay out of his way. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Romain Grosjean on the track. K-Mag is bad enough by himself. He gets his elbows out, but he does bring the car back in one piece most of the time. So Grosjean knocked out of Q1 in Singapore from the first time from his rookie days. So he was trying to wait for the safety car. He's had contact with, he doesn't think he's in the wrong. He hasn't looked at the footage. That's what he's saying. But yeah, I'm sick and tired of Grosjean. So Magnussen saying he's been working so hard. We're doing such a great job to get in the top 10 on merit. But then he had bad luck with the pit stop, the safety car. And on top of that, he had a plastic bag stuck on the front wing, which he had to remove. He had to pit again to remove. So it was a disaster from there. And I feel for K-Mag. He's really tried to lead the team this year and the last few years probably. And yeah, nothing to show for it once again. Hopefully they can have a good result here or there in the coming races. Moving on to Williams. So Williams, it's the first DNF they've had all season. And again, we can see here the confrontation between Russell and Grosjean. He's having a good race. He was, sometimes in 15th in terms of lap times. George Russell showing good potential in the car, making steady steps forward.
Sebastian Vettel going to come in. We don't know yet
here.
As we see a replay now. Once again, down at turn 8. Grosjean going around the outside. Russell was still ahead. The two Ferraris are staying out under this safety car. So Russell's ahead. Grosjean's got nowhere to go except into the back of the Williams, or he could have put his brakes on a bit more.
It's at this point you give up on that corner.
Well said, Martin.
He's got more traction off the corner.
Someone's got to back out there, and what can Russell do? To be honest, he's got to have a better IQ in terms of racing. Kubica had a good few scraps on track, but of course they're never challenging for the points. So it was Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen who finished on the podium. And Sebastian Vettel, he definitely found what he was looking for. He was looking for that #1 trophy. He was looking for his finger. He found it underneath that Merc, I think, yesterday. K-Mag got the fastest lap of the race. You can see here what it meant to Sebastian Vettel. A big, I think, relief, a weight off his shoulders, a monkey off his back. After all of the, controversy, is Seb going to retire and all of this and that, and we can just see what it means to Sebastian.
The next one, obviously, I'm not so happy with the.
Congrats, man.
Hey.
Great job. Really happy.
Where was I?
I was asking you how it feels.
Great to see such mutual respect amongst two great champions in our sport. And the finger returns. Sebastian Vettel's got his bling on his crash out again, and he's feeling like a new man after a terrible start to the season, going over a year without an official win. Of course, he had that great performance earlier in the season in Canada. Williams with the fastest pit stop, followed by Toro Rosso, then Red Bull Racing and Ferrari. Most poles in 2019, the young Charles Leclerc, the 19-year-old, is he? 5 pole positions to Lewis Hamilton's 4. And safety cars were in abundance today, and it really brought out the best of the racing. Norris, Gasly and Hulkenberg rounded off the Formula 1.5 podium places, and a great performance for Lando, we say once again. This is interesting. Carlos Sainz has now scored more points in the season than Fernando Alonso did in any of his 4 years. So look at this quite funny cartoon here. The Red Bull boys taking a chill out in the recovery ice bath. Temperatures soaring, humidity around 63%. And you must be thinking, Valtteri, this is James. Not again. Playing wingman second fiddle. It must be deeply frustrating for Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix. Really feel bad for the guy. But good to see some wheel-to-wheel action in this Grand Prix. It was hard for overtaking, but not impossible. So the future bodes well, you have to say. Hope you enjoyed the video. Who was your driver of the day? Drop it a comment in the comment section below. If you haven't liked, subscribe, please do so now. And I will join you again very soon for another We're Racing video. Ciao for now. I'm going to leave you with some footage here of a practice start from Carl again. Let's hear a dirty engine. We love a dirty engine. Come on, lads! Oh, yeah. See you later.